science, nutrition, and functional medicine to help you heal from the inside out. I'm Kim Larson. I'm a functional nutrition coach, fast like a girl coach, and founder of Larson Nutrition and LarsonBotanicals.com, where we talk about real health transformation, how food, fasting, and lifestyle can change your hormones, metabolism, and longevity. And today we're talking about one of the most important nutrition conversations you can have after 40, and that is this: what foods actually support the brain in a meaningful way, what compounds inside those foods seem to be doing the work, and how those same foods also help the rest of the body at the exact same time. Because brain health is not just about whether you get dementia one day. Brain health is about how you think, how you can focus, how steady your mood feels, how resilient you are under stress, and how well you sleep, how sharp your memory is, and whether your brain feels clear or inflamed. And this is no single food. This is a miracle. And no one meal prevents dementia or Alzheimer's. But current research keeps pointing in the same direction. Overall dietary patterns built around foods like leafy greens, berries, beans, fish, olive oil, and other whole nutritious foods are consistently linked with better cognitive outcomes over time. In 2024, a National Institute of Health, NIH, highlighted study found that the that closer adherence to the MIND diet or MIND diet was associated with lower cognitive impairment and slower cognitive decline, with stronger signals in women and in Black participants. So I also want to share where the science is strong and where it is still evolving. Observational studies on brain health, healthy dietary patterns are encouraging. And there's even pathology data showing that mind and Mediterranean style eating patterns are associated with fewer Alzheimer's related brain changes. But one 2023 randomized trial found that the mind diet did not outperform a calorie restricted control group on cognition or MRI outcomes over 3 years. And that does not mean that food doesn't matter. It means we should understand that brain health is being shaped by many systems at once: inflammation, insulin resistance, health of your blood vessels, your gut health, your oxidative stress, your sleep patterns, your stress, your body composition. Are you overweight or are you skinny fat? Are you obese? This is exactly why this topic matters for so many in midlife. When women tell me, my clients tell me they feel more forgetful or more anxious, more mentally tired, more wired at night and foggy during the day, I don't jump straight to your brain is failing. I think about like your hormones, your how much sleep are you getting? What's your blood sugar? Do you have swings? What's your vascular health? How's your gut? I think about whether the diet is full of real anti-inflammatory foods or whether the brain is running on ultra processed convenience food, not getting enough protein or enough omega 3s, and too much stress chemistry. So today I'm going to go food by food in real detail, because when you understand the compounds, you understand why these foods keep showing up in the literature. So the first food category is fatty fish and omega-3 rich seafood. And if I had to choose one place to start for the brain, that would be first one on the list. Your brain is mostly made up of fat, so it's really important that you give it healthy fats like fatty fish like salmon, sardines, trout, anchovies, herring, and mackerel. These provide EPA and DHA is especially important because it is a major structural fat in neuronal membranes. I keep saying that wrong. Anyway, these fats influence membrane fluidity, cell signaling, inflammatory balance, and synaptic function. Synaptic function is how well your brain cells communicate. So, a 2025 dose response meta analysis of randomized trials found that omega 3 supplementation was associated with improvements in several cognitive domains, with the most consistent benefits appearing in the range of roughly 1,000 to 25 milligrams per day of omega 3s by outcome, and not every cognitive domain improved equally. So that's important because it tells us that omega 3s are not a guaranteed fix for every brain complaint, because a lot of times people are taking highly processed foods and then they're also taking an omega 3, and that doesn't work. You need to be eating several healthy, good foods for your brain. And I'm going to go into this. So what makes omega-3 what makes omega-3 rich seafood so powerful is not just that it feeds the brain, it changes the inflammatory environment. EPA and DHA are precursors for specialized pro-resolving mediators, including resolvins and protectins. These are natural compounds made from omega-3s that help calm inflammation, which help the body move out of inflammatory overdrive. And that matters because the brain is extremely vulnerable to chronic inflammatory signaling and oxidative injury. The omega 3 literature keeps pointing to benefits in synaptic integrity, membrane stability, neuroimmune regulation, and global cognitive support. And beyond the brain, these same foods support triglycerides, your vascular health, your metabolic resilience, and in many people, they help improve the overall ratio of anti-inflammatory to pro-inflammatory fats in the diet. So when you eat wild salmon or sardines, you're not just eating a brain food, you're improving the terrain the brain lives in. The second category is leafy greens, and I think, people often hear leafy greens and they think about, like, how I don't think they think about how powerful this is. Spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, collard greens, beet greens, romaine, mixed spring greens. These foods are loaded with folate and vitamin K, lutein, beta carotene, magnesium, and naturally occurring nitrates. The National Institute on Aging highlighted research showing that green leafy vegetables, in particular, were associated with less Alzheimer's brain pathology. And this is a huge point because leafy greens are not sexy wellness foods. They're ordinary, and yet they keep showing up in the strongest dietary patterns for brain aging. So now let's talk about mechanism, because this is where it gets interesting. Folate matters for methylation, and that's a process that helps regulate repair and brain chemistry, and homocysteine and metabolism. Lutein is usually discussed for eye health, but lutein and related carotenoids also accumulate in the brain tissue and are associated with cognitive function. And magnesium matters for nerve signaling, stress response, insulin sensitivity, sleep quality, and muscle relaxation. And vitamin K has roles in sphingolipid metabolism, which matters for cell membranes and nervous system tissue. And the nitrate piece matters because nitrates from vegetables can support nitric oxide production, which helps blood vessels relax and improve circulation. Like celery has a lot of nitrates in it. The brain is a high energy, high blood flow organ. If circulation is compromised, cognition suffers. So greens are doing double duty, lowering oxidative stress while also supporting the blood vessels that keep the brain fed. And the third category is berries. These are some of my favorites. And deeply pigmented fruits, especially blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, bilberries, and dark cherries. We don't see a lot of bilberries in the Midwest. The star compounds here are anthocyanins and other flavonoids. And these compounds have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Anthocyanins appear to help protect neurons from oxidative stress improve cell signaling, and they may support aspects of memory, attention, and executive function. So there's a 2025 systemic review and meta-analysis suggested potential benefits of anthocyanin intake on cognition and mood. Though not every memory endpoint was significantly improved, there was a newer 2025 meta-analysis of anthocyanin-rich foods and supplements also reported improvements across general cognition and several individual cognitive domains. So again, promising, not a magic bullet, but enough to take very seriously. What I also love about berries is that they seem to work through more than one door. Yes, they may help the brain directly through polyphenol signaling, but they also support the gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome transforms many of these polyphenols into downstream metabolites that may themselves influence inflammation and brain function. And there's even emerging work showing anthocyanin rich interventions can alter EGG patterns. And EEG is a measure of brain electricity activity. And also, you also have microbial activity in older adults with cognitive impairment. You are feeding a microbial conversation that can change the signals coming back to the brain and outside the brain. Berries also support vascular health, insulin sensitivity, and oxidative stress control throughout the body. Most mornings, I have a half a cup of full fat Greek yogurt with berries, chia seeds, a pinch of pumpkin and sunflower seeds, one Brazil nut, half an avocado, and unsweetened coconut shavings. And, that feeds just about everything your gut and your brain needs. So the 4th category is extra virgin olive oil, and this one deserves much more attention than it gets in low-fat culture. And we need fat for our brain. Do not be afraid of fat. The government kept telling us you gotta eat a lot of carbohydrates and you gotta eat low fat. Baloney. You need fat for your brain, and you need to get protein and vegetables. So extra virgin olive oil is not just a healthy fat, it is a polyphenol rich food. High quality extra virgin olive oil, which we get like the Italian version from Costco, contains compounds such as oleocanthal or hydroxytyrosol and oleoropian. Newer mechanistic reviews are showing that these polyphenols may influence oxidative stress, mitochondrial function, neuroinflammation, amyloid and tau related pathways. Tau helps support nerve cells and even neurogenesis. That does not mean that olive oil cures Alzheimer's. It means extra virgin olive oil is not an empty calorie. It is a bioactive food with brain relevant compounds. And here's why olive oil matters beyond the brain. It supports the cardiovascular system, and the cardiovascular system is inseparable from cognitive aging. Better endothelial function, better vascular flexibility, lower inflammatory tone, more stable metabolic signaling, and a healthier fat profile all create a safer environment for the brain. And endothelia refers to endothelium, which is the thin inner lining of your blood vessels. So when people switch from processed dressings, like blue cheese dressing, which has soybean oil as the first ingredient in most dressings that you buy at the grocery store, fried food fats and low quality oils to real extra virgin olive oil. Like I do a salad dressing of extra virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar and some spices, or extra virgin olive oil and red wine vinegar and spices. They are changing the inflammatory chemistry of meals. A big salad with greens and beans, salmon, herbs, and olive oil is one of the most therapeutic plates you can build. Before I go further, this is exactly the kind of thing I work through with clients at larsonnutrition.com. So many people are trying to fix brain fog and fatigue, weight gain, in midlife, blood sugar swings and inflammation with random supplements while their daily meals are still working against them. Real food patterns matter, and they matter more than most people realize. So let's get in the fifth category, which is beans, lentils, chickpeas, and other legumes. And I think these are massively underused in brain health conversations. Like we love to make chili with beans. We use black beans sometimes. We use uh, kidney beans sometimes. We'll make a bean salad, a bean soup. Beans are rich in fiber, resistant starch, folate, magnesium, potassium, plant proteins, and polyphenols. Their biggest superpower may be what they do in the colon. Fiber that makes it to the large intestine gets fermented by the gut microbes into short chain fatty acids like acetate and propionate and butyrate. These short chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, are not just gut metabolites. They are signaling molecules that influence inflammation, gut barrier integrity, immune intelligence, balance, excuse me, and brain related pathways. Newer reviews describe SCFAs and regulators of neuroinflammation, synaptic growth, survival, and differentiation. Legumes also help in a much more practical way. They slow down the glycemic load of a meal. And that matters because big swings in blood sugar and insulin can absolutely affect how the brain feels. And many people experience that as like mental fatigue, cravings, irritability, and poor focus. Beans help support steadier glucose handling, better fullness, and better microbial diversity. I can tell you we just went to a curry restaurant and I had a dish that was made with black lentils and some kind of really thick gravy. I think it was butter and something else, but it was so filling. I had it with a little jasmine rice and I had two big spoonfuls of it and I was stuffed. So then I had it for like the next day for lunch and I had a little bit of chicken left over from another meal. So I had a little bit of that chicken along with the beans. Still couldn't finish the beans with the rice and the chicken. So then I had it again today for my lunch and I had it for it was the final with the chicken, less rest of the chicken, the rice and the bean. It was like a soup almost and it was so delicious. So, a 2025 review on legumes and dementia risk discussed how the fiber and starch in legumes may function as prebiotic fibers, helping support bacteria associated with short chain fatty acid production and better inflammation control. So, if someone tells me they want brain health, but their diet has almost no fiber, no legumes, and no resistant starch, that is a problem. So the sixth category is seeds, especially pumpkin seeds and chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, and sesame seeds. Oh man, it all sounds delicious. I am emphasizing seeds heavily here because they fit your broader style better than pushing a nut heavy approach. Seeds provide magnesium, zinc, fiber, vitamin E, healthy fats, and in some cases, plant omega 3s like alpha lipoic acid, ALA. Magnesium-rich foods include legumes, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. According to NIH, National Institutes of Health, Office of Dietary Supplements. So that matters because magnesium is deeply involved in nerve function, your sleep, your blood pressure regulation, your glucose metabolism, and stress resilience. Pumpkin seeds also bring zinc, which matters for immune regulation and neuronal signaling. Flax and chia bring fiber and ALA, giving you both gut support and some anti inflammatory fat support in one package. And ALA from seeds is not the same as DHA from fish. Conversation or conversion is limited, especially in some adults. So Chia and flax are not a substitute for fatty fish. If someone is open to fish, it's really important to get like, you can take a really good quality fish oil and you will not be burping. If you are burping from taking omega-3s, that's because it's rancid, and stop taking it. Throw it out. Get yourself some Swanson fish oil, omega-3 fish oils, and you will be sitting pretty. If someone is open to fish, but I don't think seeds are a strong supporting category because they improve the overall nutrient density of the diet. They help bowel function, they feed the microbiome, and they can help round out anti-inflammatory meals. A bowl of Greek yogurt or kefir with berries, chia, pumpkin seeds, and cinnamon is not just good for the gut. It is delivering minerals, polyphenols, protein, and fiber that support the whole brain body system. It's like I told you about what I have in the mornings. So, a seventh category is fermented foods and cultured foods. The gut brain axis is newer. In newer reviews, keep emphasizing that diet shapes emotional, cognitive, and neurological health through immune, endocrine, neural, and microbial pathways. Fermented foods and fiber are both being described as potent shapers of the microbiota gut brain axis. But the fermented food literature is still more heterogeneous than the fish, greens, or olive oil literature. Different foods, different microbes, different doses, different fermentation methods. So I think the best way to talk about fermented foods is part of a broader brain supportive pattern. When fermented foods may What fermented foods may do is help support microbial diversity, right? Your gut barrier function, your immune communication, and the production of metabolites that affect the brain. That also includes cultured yogurt. Like I get a full fat Greek yogurt is full of culture. Kefir is full of good microbes for your body. Sauerkraut is amazing. Kimchi, which is similar to sauerkraut, miso soup, tempeh, and other traditionally fermented foods. Pickles aren't typically actually done in vinegar, but if you get that, that's a fermented. So if somebody eats a diet that is almost entirely packaged and sterile, has little polyphenol intake, no cultured foods at all, their gut ecosystem often reflects that. And since the gut microbiome can influence neurotransmitter related pathways, inflammatory tone, and even stress responsiveness, it makes sense that fermented foods may help some people think more clearly and feel better mentally. I know it helps me. The key is that fermented foods work best when they are paired with fiber rich plants versus when they are thrown onto an otherwise junky diet and expected to save it. Kind of like having berries in the morning with my yogurt and my kefir and putting in some cinnamon into that breakfast. The eighth category is eggs. Eggs are amazing. I had a Greek omelet this morning with feta cheese and spinach and onions and tomato. It was so delicious. And I know this can surprise people in a brain health conversation. Eggs are one of the richest practical dietary sources of choline. And choline matters because it is needed to make acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in memory, learning, and muscle control. Eggs also contain phospholipids and smaller amounts of DHA plus lutein and zeaxanthin. A 2026 narrative review on eggs and brain function highlighted choline, DHA, lutein, and zeaxanthin as key egg related nutrients with implications for brain development and function. And another 2025 review noted that eggs contain several nutrients individually linked to memory, attention, and neurogenesis, even though whole egg cognitive trials are still limited. Eggs matter outside the brain too. They are an easy protein anchor. They help with satiety, they support muscle maintenance, and they can make breakfast much more blood sugar friendly than cereal and muffins or toast alone. That matters in midlife because if you want a stable brain, you need a more stable metabolic day. When people start the morning with protein, healthy fat, and micronutrients instead of sugar and refined flour, they often feel the difference fast in cravings, mood, and mental steadiness. So, eggs may not be the first food people think of for cognition, but they absolutely deserve a seat at the table. The ninth category is turmeric, especially when used consistently in food, because turmeric is one of those ingredients that gets oversold online. This key compound is curcumin. And curcumin has been studied for anti inflammatory, antioxidant, and neuroprotective effects. And recent meta analytic work suggests curcumin supplementation may improve global cognitive function with one 2025 meta-analysis establishing or estimating an optimal supplemental range around zero point 0.8 grams per day for at least 24 weeks. And what you want to do is actually make sure that you're getting pepper with your curcumin because it actually helps you absorb it better. At the same time, other reviews note that human results are still mixed and stronger in some subgroups than others. So the message is is promising, biologically plausible, worth, including, but something I wouldn't oversell as a standalone fix. But what I do like about turmeric is that it fits beautifully into an anti-inflammatory food pattern. It can be added to soups, to lentils, roasted vegetables, fish, curry, eggs, dressings. Add black pepper though to it to increase the absorption of the curcumin. I even give it to my older dog with some ginger for added lowering of inflammation, and he loves it. And when you build meals with turmeric plus olive oil plus greens plus legumes plus fish, you get layering. That is where food becomes powerful, not from one superfood, but from multiple compounds working together. Polyphenols, carotenoids, omega 3s, fiber, minerals, live cultures, and better glycemic control. That is how real nutrition works. It is a symphony, not a supplement commercial. So the 10th category is cocoa, and I love cocoa, tea, and other flavanol rich plant foods. And I'm including this because the circulation piece of the brain health is so important. Cocoa flavonols have been linked with improvements in cerebral blood flow, vascular responsiveness, and in some studies, aspects of cognition and mental fatigue. A 2025 review noted evidence that cocoa flavonols may improve vasodilator responses across peripheral and cerebral circulation. And human studies continue to explore effects on reaction time, executive processes, and perceived fatigue. So I'm talking about real cocoa, higher cocoa, dark chocolate in sensible amounts, not like a whole dark chocolate bar. And the broader lesson that flavanol rich plant foods may support the brain partly by supporting blood flow. I put 1 tablespoon of 100% organic cocoa powder in my coffee. It is unsweetened. It's just cocoa powder each morning. And you can check it out. Check out this cocoa I use at larsonnutrition.com. It is excellent. You can buy it on Amazon. And it's a really good cocoa. I put it into my with a little bit of butter and grass-fed butter. It is delicious. And this matters because the healthiest brain diet is not just anti inflammatory, it is pro circulation, pro metabolic health, pro gut health, and pro cell signaling. This is why I would much rather teach people to build a plate than chase one ingredient. A brain supportive day might look like eggs with greens and olive oil in the morning, salmon and a huge salad with beans at lunch, berries and kefir with chia or pumpkin seeds as a snack, and a dinner with lentils, vegetables, herbs, turmeric, and extra virgin olive oil. That pattern gives the brain what it needs over and over again. Repetition and consistency are key in providing your brain all the fuel it needs. This is also why I care so much about simplifying this for real life. At larsonnutrition.com, a big part of what I help people do is stop overcomplicating food and start repeating meals that truly work for their hormones, metabolism, gut, and brain. You do not need 50 biohacks. You need better inputs, repeated often enough to matter. And when we talk about brain supportive foods, I also think it is important to talk about the foods and patterns that quietly work against the brain every single day, because this is where a lot of people get confused. They start adding blueberries to breakfast or putting chia seeds in yogurt, and those are good things. But if the overall pattern is still full of blood sugar spikes, ultra processed food, poor quality fats like margarine, peanut oil, canola oil and corn oil, soybean oil, and constant undereating of protein and fiber, the brain is still being asked to function in a pretty chaotic internal environment. So let's talk about the other side of the equation, because brain health is not just about what you add, it is also about what you stop normalizing. One of the biggest problems in the modern diet is the ultra processed food pattern. I'm talking about foods that are heavily refined, rapidly digested, engineered to be hyper palatable, and often built around combinations of refined flour, added sugar, low quality oils, additives, and very little fiber. These foods do not just affect weight, they affect blood sugar, insulin, appetite regulation, the gut microbiome, inflammation, and energy stability. And when those things become dysregulated, the brain feels it. A lot of people think of brain health as the isolated neurological issue, but the brain is highly metabolically active. It needs steady energy, it needs healthy circulation, and it needs lower inflammatory burden. Your brain needs the gut and immune system not to be constantly sending distress signals upstream. So when someone is eating a very processed diet and saying, "Why do I feel foggy?" or "Why am I so tired? Why can't I focus?" I don't think that is a mystery at all. The brain is trying to do precious work in a body that is getting very imprecise fuel. And one of the fastest ways people destabilize the brain is with repeated blood sugar spikes and crashes. And this is something I wish more people understood. The brain does not need glucose, but it does not do well with wild swing. I'm sorry. The brain does need glucose, but it does not do well with wild swings. When you start your day with a sugary coffee drink, toast, cereal, muffins, or granola bars, and not much protein, fiber, or fat, you often set up a rise and fall pattern that can leave you mentally tired, hungry, again, too quickly, more irritable, and less focused. Then people think they need more caffeine or more sugar, and the cycle continues. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. This is true. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And the food industry is engineering highly processed foods to keep you addicted with sugar and chemicals inside those foods that keep you addicted to wanting more and more and more. And over time, that kind of dietary pattern can contribute to worsening insulin resistance. And uh, insulin resistance is not just a blood sugar issue, it affects the brain too. And this is why I care so much about balanced meals, because a breakfast with eggs, greens, avocado, and berries creates a completely different day than coffee and a pastry. A lunch with salmon, extra virgin olive oil, beans, and a big salad creates a, a completely different afternoon than crackers and a sandwich on white bread and chips. A protein rich dinner with vegetables, legumes, herbs, and healthy fats creates a different hormonal and neurological signal than take out fried food and desserts every night. This is also where low quality fats become a problem. I think I have a real issue. I think we all have a real issue when a huge percentage of the diet is coming from deep fried foods, packaged snack foods, fast food, bakery products, shelf stable processed food, and restaurant meals made with lower quality oils that have been heated and reheated again. The issue is not just the name of one oil. The issue is the overall dietary pattern that tends to come with those fats. It is the combination of oxidation, refinement, inflammatory load, low nutrient density, and the fact that these foods often displace foods the brain actually needs. This is one reason I like extra virgin olive oil so much. It is not only what it gives you, it is also what it replaces. When you build meals around extra virgin olive oil and fish, seeds, greens, herbs, beans, and colorful produce, you naturally crowd out a lot of the food pattern that was driving the problem in the first place. Another issue that does not get enough attention is undereating protein, especially in women and men over 40. This matters for the brain more than people realize. Protein helps stabilize appetite and blood sugar, and amino acids are the raw materials for neurotransmitters and countless repair processes in the body. If someone's trying to survive all day on toast, fruit, salad, and maybe a little chicken at dinner, they may not only be under eating protein, they may also be under eating iron, zinc, B vitamins, choline, and other nutrients that support energy and cognition. Then they say they feel anxious, tired, unfocused, and depleted. That does not mean food is the only issue, but it can absolutely be a part of it. I also think alcohol deserves mention in this conversation because a lot of people have normalized using alcohol to unwind while they also are saying they are sleeping poorly, waking up at 3 a.m., feeling inflamed, foggy, and puffy, and noticing more anxiety the next day. Well, alcohol can absolutely affect sleep architecture. It affects inflammation. It affects the gut barrier health and blood sugar stability. So if someone is working really hard to eat a brain supportive diet, but still drinking in a way that consistently disrupts sleep and recovery, that is something to look at honestly. Then there is the fiber problem. And I do not think most people realize how their intake is, how low their intake is. When people hear brain health, they think fish oil, berries, maybe turmeric. They do not think fiber. But fiber is one of the great hidden brain supportive tools because of what happens in the gut. If your microbiome is not being fed with legumes, vegetables, seeds, berries, herbs, and other plant fibers, then you are not producing the same level of beneficial metabolites, including metabolites. I keep saying metabolites, metabolites, including short chain fatty acids that help support gut integrity, immune balance, and inflammatory control. So when I see a person eating very little fiber, I don't think only about constipation or cholesterol or diarrhea. I think about the gut brain axes. I think about the inflammatory messaging coming from the gut. I think about what the brain is not receiving. This is also why brain health is not a supplemental game. Supplementation can absolutely have a place. Omega 3s can matter, magnesium can matter, creatine, vitamin D, curcumin, with black pepper. But if those all matter. But if somebody is taking 5 expensive supplements while still living on processed food, skipping protein, barely eating vegetables, and running on stress and caffeine, the foundation is still weak. I never want people to feel hopeless, but I also do not want them wasting time thinking the answer is in another capsule when their daily meals are still undernourishing the brain. And there is one more important piece here, and that is meal timing and meal consistency. I'm not saying everybody needs to eat all day long. I talk about fasting plenty. I do think some people are trying to do too much stress on top of too much stress. They are under eating, over caffeinated, skipping protein, training hard, sleeping poorly, and then wondering why their brain feels edgy and exhausted. Why can't they lose weight? For some people, especially in midlife, the answer is not more restriction. The answer is better nourishment, is getting enough protein, enough minerals, enough healthy fats, enough anti-inflammatory plant compounds, and food overall to create resilience instead of just white knuckling through the day. So when you think about foods for brain health, I want you to think in two directions. Number one, what foods am I adding that provide the compounds my brain actually needs? Omega 3s, polyphenols, carotenoids, minerals, fiber, choline, flavonols, fermented compounds, stable protein. Number two, what patterns am I still living in that keep pushing my brain forward or toward inflammation, instability, and fatigue? Because sometimes the breakthrough is not one exotic superfood. Sometimes it is just, finally stopping the daily assault. And this is where the conversation gets empowering because it's not just genetics and luck. It is built meal by meal, pattern by pattern, habit by habit, not perfectly, but repeatedly. I also want to say one more thing I before I wrap up. If you are eating these foods regularly, but still dealing with serious brain fog, low mood, memory concerns, poor sleep, anxiety, insulin resistance, or a sense that your brain just does not feel like it used to, that is worth looking at more deeply. Sometimes the food is not the whole story. Sometimes there is sleep uh, apnea, perimenopause, hypothyroid patterns, nutrient depletion, medication effects, vascular issues, chronic stress overload, or blood sugar dysregulation underneath it. Food is foundational, but food works best when it is part of a bigger strategy. And a quick thank you to larsonbotanicals.com because while skincare and candles might sound unrelated to brain health at first, they connect more than people realize. The rituals that calm the nervous system matter. The ingredients you put on your body matter. And the toxic load, the environment we create around our stress response, brain health is not only about what is on your fork, it is also about what kind of internal and external environment you are building every day. So if you take one thing from today, let it be this: your brain health is not one nutrient, one supplement, one lab value, or one diagnosis far off in the future. Brain health is being shaped every single day by the quality of your fats, the color of your plants, the amount of fiber reaching your colon, the stability of your blood sugar, the health of your blood vessels, the diversity of your microbiome, uh, your inflammatory load of your overall diet. The exciting part is that this gives us so much more influence than people think. The brain is not isolated from the rest of you. It is deeply connected to everything else. And that means the same foods that help protect memory and cognitive function can also support your heart, your hormones, your gut, your metabolism, and how you feel right now. You can listen to the Larson Health Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and just about anywhere you like to watch or listen to your favorite podcasts. And you can watch full episodes on YouTube and snippets on social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where I also share behind the scenes clips, recipes, and bonus insights from my coaching practice. And if you're ready to take your health to the next level, visit larsonnutrition.com and larsonbotanicals.com to learn about your personalized programs hormone supportive meal plans, and products, and one-on-one functional nutrition coaching. And I have a 5-day protein challenge coming up. It's actually a 14-day protein challenge, but I have 5 days of Zoom calls, and then I'm gonna do some bonus content near the end of the 14 days to help you guys with all the protein that you need to get. So thank you for listening today. I'm so glad that you were